Let's go across to Montek Singh Ahluwalia and hear out his reaction to the RBI's lack of moving.
I've seen the announcement, and they have decided to, shall we say, not take action.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So do you think this wait and watch policy is going to hurt the growth, and do you anticipate any kind of review of rate cuts in the next full term?
Well, my view is that I think the economy is beginning to turn around. Everybody should support the revival of growth. Most of what needs to be done really depends on the central government. I don't want to comment on whether the RBI should have done more or not. We leave it to them. But we are certainly engaged in putting in place a package of measures which would bring about a revival of investment. Probably it's true that at the moment, the need for funds is not the binding constraint. The binding constraint is getting rid of many implementation problems. But I certainly hope that these actions will be effective in moving projects. When they do become effective, which I hope is very quickly, it will be important to make sure that the liquidity needed in the market is available. Of course, over a longer term, it's also important to take a number of steps that will bring interest rates down, especially since inflation is now coming down. But the whole point of having a Reserve Bank that looks at these things independently is that we should give them the freedom to decide what they have to do.
Right, sir, but you yourself have been waiting for this rate cut for a long time, even the Finance Ministry, and every time RBI has disappointed the markets as well as the government. So what do you...
No, I don't, in the Planning Commission, we don't focus on the repo rate. I've said this many times that, I do think that there is excessive focus on the repo rate because, let's face it, even if we believe that the repo rate is too high, the lowering of the repo rate can only be a signal. It's not actually a market-type instrument the way it is in other countries. Okay? And what determines the long-term rate is partly the result of signals, but very largely the result of other real factors in the economy. And I think as we bring the fiscal deficit down, the resources that currently are flowing into the financing the fiscal deficit will flow back into the economy, and that will bring about a softening of interest rates. Signals certainly help, and I won't comment on why the RBI has not given a signal at this point. But I really don't think that is the single most important thing. There are many things the government is doing, and I think it should keep doing them. What I think will become important is that when we've demonstrated that this action is leading to movement in infrastructure projects, financing will have to flow. And I think if financing doesn't flow, then a lot of this action will become infructuous. So I hope that there's some time for that, and the RBI looks at these things constantly, and I hope that they will be watching this space, so to speak.
Sir, about the lowering of the growth target in the mid-year review.
I think it's a very, let's try to understand what they've done. The growth rate in the first half of the current year is 5.4%. Many people, including myself, had felt that, the economy is now bottomed out. What that means is that in the second half, the growth rate will be higher. So the Finance Ministry is actually reflecting that also. They have given a target of a range, 5.7 or 5.9. And frankly, 5.7 means that in the second half, the growth rate will be 6%, and 5.9 means it will be 6.4% or something like that. I think that there will definitely, I hope, be a revival of growth. The exact number is left to the Finance Ministry to decide, and I think it's not an unreasonable forecast. Forecasts always have margins of error, and things can change, but I think that's a reasonable assumption.